Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You're watching the Daily Report. Time now for that important conversation with my guest tonight. That is Dr. David Gikungu, Director of the Kenya Meteorological Department. Now, it is raining virtually everywhere. I just want us to have a look at what the Kenya Meteorological Department is saying, especially on X, formerly Twitter. And now the downpour persists. Expect heavy rainfall in select parts of the Nairobi metropolitan area this Monday. Stay alert and visit Meteorological.go.ke for the latest updates and follow our WhatsApp channel for detailed forecast maps. That is what the Met Department has put on the X account to just be able to warn Kenyans and Nairobians in general of the impending rains. And joining us is none other than the Director of Met Department, that is Dr. David Gikungu. Thank you so much, Dr. for joining us. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening, George. I am quite well, thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for making time for us. And I'll begin with a question. I'll compound it with what I saw in feedback from a Kenyan asking on X, formerly Twitter. They asked, Dr. where is this water coming from? Where is this rain coming from? We are aware it is the long rains season, but is it El Nino? We're curious to find out and to wonder, where is all this rain coming from?
A good question. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's the water that surrounds us. It's the water in the air. It is the systems. What matters is are the systems strong enough to form clouds that would then condense and fall back to us as rainfall. Mm-hmm. The seasonal rainfall is part of the pattern of the movement of the earth around the sun. Mm-hmm. So, figuratively speaking, it looks like it is the earth that moves north and south. Mm-hmm. And when it crosses the equator, the heating causes the air to rise, mm-hmm. creating a condition that attracts very, very moist winds to come and occupy that same space. Because they are moist and there is that heating, it rises and it reaches a certain point where it condenses. Mm-hmm. Where the conditions are right, that will form clouds that fall back as rainfall. The cloud band that is formed in that manner is what we refer to as the intertropical convergence zone, as the winds that carry that moisture mm-hmm. are from the north and from the south. So the intertropical convergence of those winds. And this is something that happens at certain times of the year as the cloud band follows the movement of the sun. So wherever the sun is overhead, mm-hmm. that cloud band is not very far. And that's what basically forms our seasons along the equator, mm-hmm. and specifically over East Africa, marking what we refer to as the long rains, mm-hmm. the March, April, and May. And that is formed when, as I have said, the sun is apparently moving from the south towards the north. Mm-hmm. And it seems to take longer, and therefore the season is longer. On its southward journey, it gives us the short rains, and it appears, because that period, October, November, when it is most intense, mm-hmm. It seems to take a shorter time. Mm-hmm. That's the simple way of explaining where the water is coming from.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, explanation, Dr. So, however, it's therefore, it seems that in the original focus that we saw, the Met Department warned Kenyans of above normal, rainfall. Does this, compound with the focus that, or rather with the current situation that you are seeing? Is it in line with what you've explained as the, long rainfall? Did the forecast mean that, yes, we have the long rainfall, as you know, from March to May, but then this above normal rainfall, what could be the cause of it all?
Okay, let me explain from that point of what is normal,
yes,
what is above. The normal is determined by comparisons.
Yes.
And under the guidance of the World Meteorological Organization, to which most countries subscribe, we, as a scientific body that also sets the standards of operation, we use a 30-year period as a baseline so that we are able to pick, let's say, a certain station like Nairobi and make comparisons of seasons month by month or month on month for 30 years. And the figure you get when you total that and divide by the number of years, I've mentioned 30. That is the figure that you will be comparing with individual months of observation. If the figure you get for a certain year is higher than that average, then you have a situation where you will be recording higher than normal. And that is the case this year, 2024, for most stations in Kenya. Let me say in East Africa, because we have almost the same conditions and incidents in Tanzania and probably even other places around East Africa.
Yes.
So that is what we mean by normal and below normal, normal, above normal. You've asked what is causing this? Towards the end of the year, just before the short rains began, the forecast that we gave
yes,
indicated that we would be observing enhanced rainfall caused by the El Nino phenomenon, coupled by the Indian Ocean dipole. That is another signal which I need not go into explaining.
Okay.
So, and that was the case, and the enhanced rainfall were observed in that period of the short rains. And over most places, the season ceased around the end of January. Come the beginning of the long rains, the forecast indicated that we would have enhanced rainfall. And it was clear to us as forecasters that the signal that caused enhanced rainfall during the short rains period was still strong enough to have an effect on the long rains. So it is the same signal of El Nino that has triggered the excess rainfall that we are still observing to date.
So would it be fair to describe this period as El Nino as well?
It is easier to refer to it as enhanced long rains.
Okay.
Because it is also our duty to ensure that we do not cause confusion.
Enhanced long rains.
For at the same time, it is clear that the signal is waning, giving way to the other features that determine climatology of the region.
So with, as forecasters, Daktari, we have sent the, you talked about the signal and what, should be, has been expected of what you have seen in the past few days and weeks. So when such signals and forecasts are given by the Met Department, and then we see the rains coming in, as a people, as a society, what then should we interpret from what you give as a Met Department?
The signals, I think we are saying that it is us who observe the signals and we interpret the signals
yes,
so that we are able to tell you what the forecast indicates.
Yes.
If it is less rainfall, we tell you. And we also tell you when we expect the rainfall to start. If it is more rainfall, maybe than normal, if it is normal, we tell you according to, and note that I have used only a few signals.
Yes.
I've talked about the Indian Ocean dipole and the El Nino, and those are not the chief determinants of the weather or the long rains or short rains. Those ones will be signals that will either divert rainfall or cause an increase. Sometimes they may just be passive, but the main feature is the temperatures and the winds over the oceans, and also the sun, the heating of the sun, and where the sun, figuratively speaking, as I have explained earlier,
Yes.
The location, its movement, and so on, because the intensity of the heating and the temperatures that go with that, that is what will determine what kind of weather you are going to have. I think you've also heard of places where they suffer heat waves.
Yes.
Because that is how their climatology is formed.
Yes, thanks, Dr. So when then, there is a warning or an alert by Met Department regarding heavy rainfall, or as you've called it, enhanced rainfall, what then should the population be expected to do?
Yeah. Please give me a moment.
Sorry?
Give me a moment. I need to address something here.
Oh, okay.
Just a moment.
All right. That is Dr. David Gikungu, the Director, Met Department, Kenya Meteorological Department. We thank you for staying with us. We'll be back in a few minutes. Do stay with us, of course, as we discuss the current situation, and what you have seen as well. Regarding his explanation, he said what you're experiencing is enhanced rainfall in the country. Dr. David Gikungu, Director of Kenya Meteorological Department, is our guest tonight. Keep your questions, your feedback coming, even as we try to understand what we will be seeing in the coming days. We are taking a short break. We are back in a few minutes.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na Nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus niko niwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue. Mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking,
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
to finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hii.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
to finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
Na safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus nikoniwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee, soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hii.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
to finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m.
It is exactly 6 minutes past 10 o'clock right here in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We are still with Dr. David Gikungu, Director, Kenya Meteorological Department. Thank you, Daktari, for staying with us. Earlier on, before the break, I wanted to know, You've talked about the signals and the warnings that, such as the enhanced rainfall that we are currently experiencing as a country, as forecasters, what should be the ideal, the ABCs, the 1 to 3 of, expectations of forecasters like the Kenya Met Department by especially Kenyans, and to the government in trying to prepare and in trying to be ready for the enhanced rainfall that we are currently experiencing as a country?
Thanks again once, Georgia.
Yes.
Signals for viewers or users.
Mm-hmm.
It's really to get hold of the forecast that we give. It's really, for users, it's mainly the information. Signals is for the forecaster.
Mm-hmm.
And we cannot talk about all of them here because some of them are models that you will use using the observations that you have made. And others are equations that are also related to the models. And I've talked about the sea surface temperatures and other phenomena. So we cannot start describing them without boring the viewer.
Mm-hmm.
But let me say it is enough for us to relay the information on the forecast, the most probable weather for a given period, to give it with a certain lead time. And 1 month is good enough. 1 month to 3 weeks and so on. But we try our best. For example, for the long rains, we give the forecast in February.
Yes.
And the season is expected to start sometime in March, running up to the end of its course. When it comes to the short rains, we issue the forecast in August. And the certain aspects of it in August, other aspects at the end of September, ensuring that there is sufficient lead time for the users to prepare themselves for that. So when we talk about signals, it's at various levels, at different levels. But for the users or consumers of that information, the basic thing is to find out what is the forecasting office saying.
So, yeah, Dr. So should, citizens then move to higher ground in areas that, yes, where the Met Department says, enhanced rainfall will be experienced? Should citizens perhaps, be able to move to higher ground, be able to then evacuate or, avoid certain areas? Is that what is expected?
I think we should now be speaking a different language.
Okay.
We should now be talking about long-term planning, where settlement is guided, because not every high ground is a safe place. Today, we've had reports of landslides.
Yes.
In a place that is relatively high. So that kind of settlement also ought to be guided, because there is a certain level of elevation that is dangerous, that awaits just a certain amount of moisture to tip off with weight, whatever weight would be above it. So, but of course, not everybody will be vulnerable. You can prepare a place depending on the guidance you've been given, so that if it is a house, you ensure that it is strong enough to withstand the kind of movement that we are seeing and is causing the kind of havoc that we have seen. So that if you're talking about, is it building of a house? Is it building of a dam? Is it building of a road? you do it according to the climatology of the area, because it's possible to get such figures even from our office. And when I say guidance, it means going even beyond the weatherman. Geological surveys are important to ensure that whatever you put up will withstand whatever nature may bring. As I speak to you, there are places where earthquakes and things like that are part of their lives. And you no longer hear of lives getting lost or buildings getting damaged, because the past experiences have taught them to strengthen their infrastructure. And so even here we are saying even individuals can ensure that if you have to continue living in what we refer to as harmful zones, then make sure that your infrastructure can withstand that.
Yeah, Doctor, do you
Really,
think,
that is all we are saying.
Yeah. Do you think then that perhaps, the Kenyan population, listen, or as Kenyans, do we adhere, or are we taking note of, the Met Department is issuing forecasts, but, whereas these are tragedies, do you think they could be averted by perhaps, looking at what the Met Department issues?
Yes, if we all follow that instruction. But I would be reluctant to refer to it as a blanket term as Kenyans.
Yes.
It's really just a handful of people who are what you would call daredevils or something, but it's really a very, very small fraction. A lot of Kenyans have taken heed. They are not moving, they are waiting or taking different routes so as to get to their homes or their destinations in one piece. Not everybody is trying the waters. It's just a few, and it is unfortunate that we have such. So we cannot say it is all Kenyans.
Okay.
People do listen, but they are always outliers. George.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. So Mike on WhatsApp asks, ask Dr. to explain that is millimeters, in detail. How many millimeters of rain is remaining up there?
How many millimeters of rain remaining where?
Up there. I think in the clouds. I'm quoting verbatim. So
ask me what the millimeters mean,
yes,
but don't ask me how many millimeters remain up there.
Mike, you have your answer.
Because that would be the work of somebody else.
Oh, okay.
We measure rainfall that is received in that unit of millimeters, millimeters of rainfall.
Yes.
What that translates to is if you pour water, 1 liter of water, over an area of 1 meter, 1 square meter, that is waterproof. Let's say you have, what would you call it, a bowl that is square, 1 square meter. If you pour 1 liter, if you measure the height of that water, it will give you 1 millimeter. So whatever measure we make, when we say it is 6.7 millimeters, 10 millimeters, 140 millimeters, as was recorded in one of our stations during the weekend, particularly on Saturday, that is the equivalent of that. How many liters of water over that dimensional figure that I have that I have used so as to explain. That's what it means.
Yeah. So when we then look at the the cycles that we are seeing in terms of rain and water patterns, Would you attribute this as forecasters to the effects of climate change? Is that what you'd attribute this to? In fact, in as much as we've had a history and we know that long rains and short rains should come in this specific period, the increased or enhanced rainfall?
Well, increased or enhanced rainfall within its own season may not necessarily describe climate change, but frequency can.
Okay.
When you have a higher frequency of climatic or severe events, such as the drought that we experienced for 5 consecutive seasons, or having more episodes of enhanced rainfall, those may be described as characteristics of climate change, in that they have moved or they have changed the pattern that was climatologically known over the past. We are now establishing new norms which will determine the climatology of various places the world over. But that is correct to say that it is an aspect of climate change. When it comes to enhanced rainfall over a place in a season, that falls under the category of climatology that we would refer to as climate variability, where you find one season has this amount and it is still above normal. Another season will give you another figure that would still be above normal. Sometimes it is below normal. That is climate variability. Thank you.
Yes, so then looking at how the situation is looking like, this long rains period, will it end in this new month that you're heading to just after tomorrow, that is May, because between March, April and May is when you have the long rains. Will this persist for a longer period, and will the levels perhaps be higher?
Thanks once again. Under normal conditions, the long rains start in March and end in May.
Yes.
But that is not uniform. It's not for every part of the country. But in general, the season ends towards the end of May. There are places where the season could end in the 3rd week of May. And you will find that most times, whereas the season starts over Western Kenya, you will find that when the onset is observed at the coast towards when the other parts of the country are having a peak. Over Western Kenya, where the season started, they will still be having heavy rainfall. And so you'll find that the cessation of the season is maybe the 1st week of June, even up to the 2nd week of June, and that is likely to happen. But I will be talking more about that in the forecast for the month that will be releasing tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Yes, and we have seen that, invitation to media houses of that forecast will be issuing tomorrow. Let's talk about now the future as we look at, we had even heard the president said countries like Malawi right now are experiencing drought and, harsh weather conditions in terms of, increased sunshine. Are we seeing a scenario where after, these long rains, after these torrents of water we're seeing in the country and experiencing, that later on there'll be, too much sunshine that will be an opposite of what we've experienced currently?
The climatic patterns that are on record have shown that most times an El Nino event is followed by La Nina but that is not a standard thing. It doesn't always happen. You can have an El Nino season followed by a normal season. And it is also possible to have that phenomenon continuing and shooting into a second year. It is possible for that to happen. So even though we have seen that as a pattern in the past, we are not, we have not concluded yet about how the short rains will be. We are still monitoring. Because like I mentioned earlier, the signal for the short rains that was enhanced as a result of El Nino, that signal stayed on and has influenced the rainfall for the long rains this season. We are still monitoring that. It's dying off, but it may not necessarily mean that we are going into a La Nina season. We are still monitoring. La Nina is still a possibility. A normal situation is a possibility, and so on. And we will be advising as we continue monitoring, and as we issue forecast after forecast, we will be letting the public know what is likely to happen.
Yes, Dr. We are entering the home stretch of this conversation, and among the scenarios that we see is, an influx of diseases where we have fish water, matter mixing with clean water. What would you have to say about, the effects that come not only with increased rainfall, but also the effects in terms of the population and their health?
Yes, in terms of applications of the information, that is an important question, George.
Yes.
Because as you will notice, even in the forecast that we issued today, we are talking about rainfall observed, maximum temperature, minimum temperature. Because that is important information to have. When you have a lot of water, the flooding conditions we have seen, and temperatures also happen to be higher than normal. That creates good grounds for pathogens that cause diseases to thrive.
Yes.
And that becomes a harmful thing to happen. This is when we have this kind of flooding, that's when we have most incidents of cholera, and some have been reported. It is such conditions that also cause malaria or let's say mosquitoes to thrive, and some of the mosquitoes that cause malaria also thrive, and you have such cases. And in some places, you may have conditions like Rift Valley fever, which incidentally is caused by many species of mosquitoes and becomes even more harmful. So that is an important thing to consider, because when we talk about getting out of harm's way, it's not only getting out of the harm that the deluge of water would cause, but even what is likely to develop. Of course, if you are forced to consume that contaminated water, that has its own level of harm.
Yeah, Dr. So, among the, as you said, the application of information, what other thing perhaps, as we enter the home stretch completely, what are some of the other issues? There are diseases, there is the expected rainfall, perhaps, the population should be able to harvest this water. What are some of the other implications that you may see regarding the application of the information that we've talked about?
Yeah, that's how you take words from my mouth. I was going to talk about now the positive things that can result from this.
Please proceed.
Because if you have that ability to store the water in whatever form. It may look muddy now, it may not look so clean, but it can be converted into other uses. Because if we get into that event that we were saying, where maybe the rains are delayed or they are less, but you have that water around you that you have already stored, it will be of much use for your farming, for your livestock, many things. I think they say water is life.
Yeah.
And there are also methods of purification of water, so that if you don't think it's clean enough, there is a way of purifying that. And so we cannot exhaust the goodness of water that is stored properly for a day that may not have as much rain as we are witnessing at this time during the season.
Yeah, Daktari, we have just a few minutes left, and I'd like to give you a minute or two, whereas you're aware of the update you'll give tomorrow on the performance of the March to April-May 2024 long-range seasonal forecast, and what the expected weather conditions are for the month of May 2024. I'd like you to speak to Kenyans really, and to speak to them about the importance of adhering to the alerts that you issue as Met Department, and what other things perhaps Kenyans, your message to Kenyans really on how to best prepare and what to do, and what we shall be seeing in the days to come.
Okay, thanks, George, for this opportunity to talk to Kenyans. And I don't think I'm going to say anything that I haven't said already, but to mention that information is available. We are on social media. We are on the other regular media. Radio, TV, newspapers, and so on. It's possible to get this information even through apps and so on. And where the information originates from the Kenya Meteorological Department, we are keen to indicate that. Ensure that the information that you are getting, if you are within Kenya, that it comes from Kenya Meteorological Department. I'm saying this because it's possible to get information from all over. But, and I'm not against, I'm not talking about the things that I'm against, but to mention that we work with others globally, and those that we work with are what you would refer to as credible. Allow us that advantage of sieving for you the sources of information that would be of help to you. We use that, we combine with what we are observing, and so when we issue the daily forecasts, the 5-day forecast, the weekly forecast, the monthly forecast, even the seasonal forecast, it's something that we have carefully looked at. We have models that are always being improved upon, and we also have meetings where we discuss, disagree, agree, and so on, so that there is consensus in what finally is released. Make that a habit of your life, to find out what the Met Department is saying, so that when we are saying this is a good time to do this, to get out of this place, or it's something that is already part of you. I think that is what I would say.
Yes.
George.
Thank you very much, Daktari, and we appreciate your time this evening, just talking to us about the floods disaster management, and of course, what we've seen and what to expect in the coming days. And we've also, as we also anticipate an update on the performance of the March, April, May 2024 long seasonal forecast and announcement of the expected weather conditions for the month of May 2024 tomorrow by the Met Department. Thank you, Daktari, for speaking to us, and good night.
Good night.
Brilliant. That has been Dr. David Gikungu, Director, Kenya Meteorological Department, just speaking to us tonight on the floods disaster management. We appreciate your feedback, but that's why we wind up the show this evening. I am George Maringa. Blessed to have you this evening. As always, stay safe and be kind to one another. I'll see you tomorrow on the People's Court. Good night from Nairobi.